That night, as thunder rattled the shutters, I lay awake tracing the scars on her back, souvenirs from a life she'd fled across an ocean, and wondered how we'd ever convinced ourselves that love like ours could be anything but eternal. It started 6 months earlier, under a relentless Andalusian sun that bleached the world to bone-white edges. I'd come to Spain on a whim, or so I told myself, a sabbatical from my crumbling graphic design career in Brooklyn, a desperate bid to outrun the divorce papers my ex-husband had slapped on the kitchen table like a bad review. At 34, I felt like a half-erased sketch. Curves softened by too many late-night takeouts, auburn hair perpetually tied back in a messy bun, green eyes that had forgotten how to sparkle. Marbella was supposed to be my reset button. Waves crashing against the Costa del Sol, olive groves whispering secrets to the wind, and enough expat bars to drown the what-ifs. I met Bailey at a cliffside cafe called El Acantilado, the kind of place where the sea air tasted like salt and possibility. She was nursing a café con leche, her short blonde hair catching the light like spun gold threaded with silver, remnants of a harder life she'd later confess. At 36, she carried herself with the coiled grace of someone who'd boxed her way out of Chicago's South Side. Her blue eyes sharp as switchblades, olive skin etched with faint lines from years under fluorescent gym lights. She was an artist, or claimed to be, sketching tourists with a pencil that danced like it had a grudge. "You draw like you're fighting the paper," I said, sliding onto the stool next to her after she'd captured my profile in under 5 minutes, a version of me that looked fierce, unbroken. She smirked, wiping charcoal smudges on her jeans, and replied, "And you sit like you're daring the world to notice you. What's your story, stranger?" We talked for hours that afternoon, the conversation spilling over like sangria from an overfilled glass. She was escaping too. A messy breakup with a gallery owner back in the States who'd promised forever, but delivered only stolen sketches and empty frames. Lesbian drama in the art world? It's like a bad indie film, she laughed, but her eyes held the weight of it. I confessed my own wreckage. A marriage built on compromises, a husband who loved the idea of me more than the mess of me. By sunset, we'd wandered the promenade, her arm brushing mine accidentally on purpose, and I felt something stir, a spark I'd thought long extinguished. That was the hook of us. 2 American women adrift in a foreign land, swearing we'd keep it light, temporary. No strings, no futures sketched in pencil or ink. Just sun-soaked days and nights tangled in white linen sheets, the Mediterranean humming lullabies outside our window. We rented the villa on a month-to-month lease. A stucco hideaway perched on a hillside overlooking Puerto Banús, with bougainvillea climbing the walls like veins pulsing with color. Mornings, we'd hike the trails to the lighthouse at Punta Calaveras, her hand steady in mine as we navigated rocky paths, laughing about the tourists who mistook us for sisters. Afternoons blurred into siestas, her fingers tracing lazy patterns on my skin, whispers of just for now sealing our pact. But love, that sneaky bastard, doesn't honor contracts. It crept in through the cracks, the way she'd burn paella just to see me smile over the charred edges, or how I'd wake to find her sketching me asleep, capturing the vulnerability I hid from everyone else. We were dramatic from the start, our emotions spilling out in monologues worthy of a Tennessee Williams play. One evening, after a day trip to Ronda's gaping gorge, she pulled me close amid the Puente Nuevo shadow and murmured, "You're the first person who's seen me without wanting to fix me, Bella." I kissed her then, fierce and unapologetic, tasting salt from the mist and the sweetness of surrender. In that moment, Spain wasn't just a backdrop. It was our confessional, the land's ancient Moorish whispers urging us to bare our souls. Yet beneath the romance simmered the drama we couldn't outrun. Bailey had secrets, layers peeled back like onions in a tear-streaked kitchen. Late one night, after too much Rioja, she confessed the real reason she'd fled Chicago. Not just the ex, but a daughter she'd given up at 19, a ghost named Sophia who'd haunt her dreams with what-ifs. I was a kid myself, scraping by on Fight Club winnings and ramen. She deserved better than my chaos. Her voice cracked, and I held her as sobs shook her frame, the rain pattering outside like distant applause for her pain. I shared my own shadows, the infertility that had poisoned my marriage, the doctor's cold verdict that I'd never carry a child. "We're both broken in the same places," I said, and she nodded, our foreheads pressed together, forging a bond from shared fractures. We humanized each other in those early weeks, turning wounds into wisdom. I'd drag her to the markets in Marbella's old town, haggling over figs and ceramics, teaching her to savor the slow burn of life. She'd counter with midnight drives along the coast, windows down, blasting Joni Mitchell as the headlights carved paths through the dark. "This is us," she'd say. "Temporary stars burning bright before we fade." But the fading never came. Instead, emotions deepened, roots tangling beneath the surface. We talked of futures we swore we wouldn't. Her returning to Chicago to reclaim her art, me maybe starting fresh in Seattle. Yet every goodbye loomed like a guillotine, sharpening our embraces. The conflict ignited on a sweltering August day, when the Sirocco winds whipped in from Africa, carrying dust and discontent. I'd been feeling off for weeks, nausea disguised as bad tapas, fatigue blamed on the heat, but that morning, staring at the 2 pink lines on a drugstore test smuggled from a pharmacy in Estepona, the world tilted. Pregnant? How? The donor sperm I'd impulsively ordered online months ago, before Bailey, a half-joking just-in-case ship to a clinic in Malaga. I'd forgotten it in the haze of us, the vial waiting like a forgotten promise. I told her over lunch at a seaside taverna, the waves mocking my pounding heart. "Bailey, we're going to have a baby." Her fork clattered against the plate, blue eyes widening in a storm of shock and something darker, fear, maybe betrayal. "You did this? Without telling me?" Her voice was low, edged with the South Side steel she'd honed in the ring. I reached for her hand, but she pulled back. "We said temporary, Bella. This makes it permanent." "I can't do permanent." "Not again." The argument erupted like the fireworks over the bay on Feria night. Raw, explosive, illuminating every crack. She accused me of trapping her, of rewriting our rules in indelible ink. I fired back that love wasn't a lease agreement, that we'd built something real amid the ruins. Words flew like shrapnel. Her screaming about Sophia, the daughter she'd abandoned. Me hurling the pain of my barren years, how this miracle was mine, not a chain. By dusk, she stormed out, tires screeching on the villa's gravel drive, leaving me curled on the tile floor, the test strip mocking me from the bathroom sink. Days blurred into a haze of solitude and salt-stung tears. I wandered Marbella's labyrinthine streets alone, the whitewashed walls closing in like judgmental elders. Friends back home texted platitudes. "Congrats, sis. Spain baby vibes." But they didn't know the half of it, the lover who'd become a specter. Bailey vanished into the expat underbelly. Dive bars in San Pedro, art collectives in Fuengirola, drowning her regrets in gin and grudges. Whispers reached me through mutual acquaintances. A fling with a British sculptor, nights lost in smoke-filled studios. Betrayal sharp as a stiletto, pierced deeper than any goodbye. Yet even in the wreckage, romance lingered like the scent of jasmine after rain. I'd find her sketches slipped under the door. Abstract swirls of blues and greens, my silhouette woven into the chaos, captioned "Forgive the storm?" My heart warred. Rage at her flight, ache for her return. The baby grew, a flutter in my belly like butterfly wings testing flight, reminding me of stakes beyond us. Humanistic threads wove through the pain. Late-night calls to my therapist in New York, journaling under star-pricked skies, finding solace in the sea's indifferent roar. Spain, with its layered history of conquest and coexistence, mirrored our turmoil. Moorish arches embracing Gothic spires, a testament to loves that endured despite the scars. The climax crashed on All Saints' Day, when the air turned crisp with autumn's edge and marigolds carpeted the graves in the cemetery overlooking the coast. I'd gone to light a candle for my grandmother, the woman who'd taught me resilience in her Brooklyn kitchen, her stories of Ellis Island immigrants a balm for my exile. As I knelt tracing the flames' dance, a shadow fell across the stone. Bailey, disheveled and hollow-eyed, her leather jacket dusted with graveyard petals. "I saw her," she whispered, sinking beside me, voice raw as the wind off the straight. "Sophia. Tracked her down through some online rabbit hole. She's 17 now, Bella, tall with my eyes, studying art in Milwaukee. Tears carved tracks through the dirt on her cheeks. She doesn't know me, doesn't want to. But seeing her broke me open. And you're carrying this life, this chance I threw away. How can I walk from that?" We sat there for hours, the dead silent witnesses to our unraveling. She confessed the fling. A desperate grasp at numbness, ending in regret before it began. "I betrayed us because I was scared of how much I love you." Temporary was a lie I told myself to survive. I raged then, the full force of my hurt spilling out in sobs that shook the earth. You left me to face this alone, Bailey. Alone in a country that's not mine, with a heart that's yours. But as the sun dipped, painting the strait in fire, forgiveness flickered like that candle. Fragile but unquenchable. In the weeks that followed, we rebuilt, brick by tentative brick. She moved back into the villa, her presence a quiet anchor amid the swelling curve of my belly. We attended prenatal classes in Malaga, her hand on my knee during breathing exercises, laughing nervously at the midwife's thick accent. Drama lingered in the edges. Fights over nursery colors, she favored stormy blues, I soft sages, doubts that surfaced like driftwood on the tide. But emotion deepened our bond, turning betrayal's ashes to fertile soil. We'd walk the beach at dawn, her arm around me discussing names, Luna for the moon that watched our nights, or Harper for the fire in our words. As winter softened into spring, the humanistic core of us emerged. Not flawless heroes but flawed women choosing grace. Bailey started therapy via Zoom with a Chicago counselor, unpacking the ghosts of her past. I forgave, not in a blaze of cinematic absolution, but in small acts, sharing gelato on the promenade, her sketching the baby's ultrasound in whimsical detail. Romance bloomed anew, tender and tempered. Stolen kisses in olive groves, her whispering sonnets against my skin as the baby kicked in rhythm. And now, 9 months from that rainy revelation, here we are in the sterile glow of Malaga's hospital Costa del Sol, the scent of antiseptic mingling with the faint brine from the open window. Labor's grip tightens like a vice, waves of pain crashing harder than any Andalusian storm. Bailey stands beside me, her hand vice-like in mine, blue eyes locked on green, anchors in the chaos. You're doing this, Bella. We're doing this. She murmurs, voice steady despite the tremor in her fingers. The doctor urges, the monitors beep a frantic symphony, and with a final guttural cry that echoes our shared odyssey, our daughter arrives, tiny, furious, perfect. Luna Harper, slick with promise, her first wail a declaration against the temporary. Bailey cuts the cord, tears streaming, and in that instant betrayal fades to footnote, conflict to catalyst. She places Luna in my arms, our family forged in fire and forgiveness, under a Spanish sky that stretches endless as hope. We swore it was temporary, but love, that eternal artist, sketched us permanent. 2 women, 1 heart, 1,000 stories yet to unfold. The aftershocks of Luna's arrival rippled through our lives like after tremors from a quake we hadn't fully mapped. In those first bleary days, the villa transformed from lover's lair to a nursery of necessity. Bassinet wedged between our bed and the balcony doors, diapers stacked like abstract sculptures on Bailey's drafting table, the air thick with the milky scent of new life. I nursed Luna in the rocking chair my mother shipped from Brooklyn, her tiny mouth rooting with the same determination I'd seen in Bailey's sketches, fierce, unyielding. Bailey hovered, a mix of awe and awkwardness, her calloused hands gentle as she changed her first diaper, cursing under her breath at the snaps like they were opponents in the ring. "You're a natural," I teased one afternoon, as sunlight slanted through the shutters, gilding Luna's downy hair the color of wet sand. Bailey snorted, wiping her hands on her jeans, but her eyes softened, tracing the curve of our daughter's cheek. "Liar. I'm winging it harder than that time I fought a pro with a sprained wrist." Yet there was truth in her tenderness, a humanism blooming from the soil of her regrets. She'd taken to humming old Chicago blues to Luna at midnight feedings, her voice rough gravel smoothed by love, while I dozed in the crook of her arm. It was romantic in its mundanity. The 3 of us tangled in exhaustion, Spain's eternal summer wrapping us in a cocoon of second chances. But drama, that persistent shadow, refused to recede entirely. Whispers from the expat community slithered in like the Sirocco's dry breath. Bailey's indiscretion, with the sculptor painted us as tabloid fodder in the tight-knit bars of Puerto Banús. "Heard she left you high and dry, love, classic artist flightiness," murmured Elena, the Portuguese widow who ran the cafe where we'd first kissed, her eyes pitying over my café con leche. I brushed it off with a laugh, but inside the betrayal festered, a dull ache like a bruise pressed too hard. Nights when Luna fussed and Bailey stepped out for air, I'd lie awake, the sea's murmur mocking my insecurities. Was this redemption real, or just another temporary sketch? The conflict crested again in October, when autumn's golden veil thinned to reveal the bones beneath. Bailey's phone buzzed incessantly one evening, the screen lighting her face in harsh blue as we sat on the terrace, Luna swaddled between us. I glimpsed the name Sophia before she silenced it, but the damage was done. "Your daughter?" I asked, voice even, though my heart hammered like the tableau's flamenco drums down in the gypsy caves. She nodded, jaw tight, and confessed. Emails exchanged, tentative bridges over the chasm of years. "She's curious, Bells. Sent a photo. God, she looks just like." Her voice trailed, eyes distant as the Gibraltar lights across the strait. Jealousy, that green-eyed serpent, coiled in my gut, not of Sophia, but of the pull she exerted, the past threatening to eclipse our fragile now. "And what about us, Luna?" I pressed, the words sharper than intended. Bailey recoiled, fire flashing in her blues. "This isn't a competition, Bella. She's my blood. Doesn't mean I love you less." The argument spiraled, old wounds reopening. Her flight during my pregnancy, my unspoken fear that I'd always be the placeholder. "You ran once," I hurled, tears hot on my cheeks. "What's stopping you from chasing ghosts again?" She slammed her fist on the table, wine glasses rattling. "Because I choose this. You, Luna, the mess we made beautiful. But if you can't trust that, maybe I should go." The silence that followed was a void, deeper than Rhonda's gorge, filled only by Luna's soft whimpers. We slept apart that night, the bed a cold frontier, the balcony door ajar to let in the night's confessional chill. Dawn found me on the cliffs, wind whipping my hair as I clutched a pebble from our first hike, its edges smoothed by relentless tides. Humanism whispered through the roar. Forgiveness isn't erasure but evolution, choosing to build despite the blueprint's flaws. I returned to find Bailey on the terrace, Luna cradled close, her face etched with the same resolve. "I emailed Sophia back," she said softly as I sank beside her. "Told her about you. About us. She wants to meet someday. But my home is here." That vulnerability cracked us open further, emotions flowing like the Guadalhorce River after rains, turbulent, life-giving. We sought counsel in unlikely places. A couple's workshop in Torremolinos, led by a flamboyant therapist with a penchant for tarot, who dubbed us the warrior and the dreamer. There, amid other expat pairs nursing their own dramas, we learned to voice the unspoken. My terror of abandonment rooted in my father's early death, her armor forged from a mother's neglect. Romance reignited in stolen moments. A weekend in Granada, leaving Luna with Elena, where we wandered the Alhambra's gardens, her hand in mine under Nasrid arches, kissing amid fountains that sang of enduring loves. Yet the true climax brewed not in shouts, but in quiet unraveling. A betrayal born of omission, not malice. November brought news from Chicago. Bailey's ex, the gallery thief, had resurfaced, peddling her stolen sketches online for quick cash. Worse, he'd looped in Sophia, using the girl's curiosity as leverage to demand a settlement for past grievances. Bailey discovered it in a frantic call from her old manager, the betrayal hitting like a sucker punch. "He used her, my daughter, to get to me," she raged that night, pacing the villa's living room, fists clenched white. I pulled her down, her body collapsing against mine, sobs racking her like the storms that battered the coast. In the fallout, our roles reversed. I became the steady one, researching lawyers in Madrid, drafting emails with the precision of my design days. "We'll fight this," I vowed, Luna gurgling oblivious in her bouncer. But beneath my resolve simmered my own conflict. Resentment that her past kept intruding, a tide eroding our shore. One evening, as rain lashed the windows, I confronted it. "I feel like I'm always the fixer, Bailey, cleaning up ghosts that aren't mine." She stilled, eyes searching mine. "Then leave the broom. Let me carry it this time." What followed was raw, unscripted therapy, hours of talking until our throats ached, unearthing the humanism in our hurts. Her learning to lean without shame, me releasing the need to control. Winter deepened, the Costa del Sol's mild chill a gentle reminder of impermanence. We celebrated Luna's first Christmas with a makeshift tree strung with seashells and LED lights, Bailey carving wooden ornaments shaped like lighthouses, beacons for our storms. Romance wove through the holiday hush, her surprising me with a custom sketch of us three, framed in olive wood, hung above the mantel. "Permanent ink," she whispered, kissing me slow under the mistletoe we'd hung ironically at first. Emotions peaked in laughter and tears. Sophia's hesitant video call on New Year's, the girl's shy wave bridging oceans, Bailey's hand trembling in mine as she introduced my family. As spring unfurled, petals exploding in riotous color along the promenades, we faced the ultimate test. Bailey's invitation to Chicago for Sophia's high school graduation. "Come with me," she pleaded one starlit night, Luna asleep between us. Conflict clawed. My fear of America swallowing her whole, the baby too young for transatlantic flights. What if it's the end of temporary? I murmured vulnerability, my armor stripped bare. She cupped my face, fierce as ever. "It's the start of forever, Bells. We're not running anymore." We went, the three of us bundled against the windy city's bite, Spain's warmth a memory in our bones. The graduation was a whirlwind of Midwestern politeness and undercurrents. Sophia's wary smile, the ex's sullen absence after the settlement check cleared. But in the hotel room that night, with Luna cooing in her pack-and-play, Bailey and I collapsed into each other. "Love a refuge from the chaos." "Thank you for standing by me," she breathed, and I replied, "Always was, always will." Back in Marbella, the villa felt renewed. Our lives a tapestry of threads once frayed, now woven tight. Betrayal's echo faded, replaced by the symphony of us. Luna's first steps on the terrace tiles, Bailey's gallery show in Estepona featuring exile hearts, me freelancing designs inspired by Andalusian motifs. Humanistic to the core, our story wasn't flawless. It was lived-in, scarred, sublime. Years folded like the pleats of a flamenco skirt, graceful, rhythmic, hiding the sweat beneath. By Luna's third birthday, our temporary vow had morphed into a vow of permanence, etched not in rings. We'd opted for a sunset commitment ceremony on the beach, witnesses the waves and a stray tabby, but in the daily poetry of coexistence. The villa expanded with us. A studio for Bailey's burgeoning art career, her pieces now gracing walls from Malaga to Manhattan. A playroom cluttered with my sketchpads and Luna's crayons, the girl's auburn curls a mirror of mine, her blue eyes Bailey's legacy. We'd Americanized our corner of Spain. Thanksgiving turkeys roasted in a tagine, 4th of July barbecues with expat neighbors, blending Brooklyn bravado with Andalusian ease. Yet drama, that eternal companion, evolved rather than evaporated. Sophia's integration was a slow burn, fraught with the embers of abandonment. At 20 now, studying fine arts in Madison, she visited biannually, awkward silences over paella giving way to tentative bonds, like Luna latching onto her as big sis during beach days. But resentment simmered. "You left me for this?" Sophia once spat during a heated dinner, gesturing at our sun-kissed idol. Bailey's face crumpled, the fighter yielding to the mother. "I left to give you space to grow without my mess. But I never stopped loving you." I mediated, the peacemaker's role chafing, my own emotions a tangle. Gratitude for the blended family, envy of Sophia's unscarred youth. The betrayal that nearly undid us came subtly, a whisper in the wind off the straight. Bailey's career ascended like a kite in a zephyr. A solo exhibit in Barcelona, scouts from New York galleries circling like gulls. Flush with offers, she began weekend trips for networking, her absences stretching from days to weeks. I buried myself in motherhood and commissions, Luna's chatter filling the villa's echoes, but doubt crept in like evening fog. One night, scrolling Instagram in the witching hour, I stumbled on a tagged photo. Bailey, arms slung around a lithe curator in a Soho loft, caption inspiring nights with the muse. No kiss, no scandal. Just enough to ignite the old inferno. Confrontation brewed over breakfast the morning she returned, Luna finger-painting at the table oblivious to the storm. "Who's the muse, Bailey?" I asked, sliding the phone across the tiles, voice steady as the lighthouse beam. Her color drained, fork pausing mid-air. "It's nothing, Bells, work talk, late drinks. She's married, for Christ's sake." But the lie hung heavy, her eyes darting like minnows. The fight that ensued was our most cinematic yet. Plates shattering like fragile illusions, accusations hurled across the kitchen. "You're chasing youth again, like with the sculptor." Her countering with exhaustion's blade. "And you're suffocating me with this perfect life I never asked for." Luna's wail pierced the din and we froze. Parents first, lovers fractured. Bailey scooped her up, rocking her in the rocker, while I slumped against the counter, sobs silent as the sea at slack tide. When calm descended, we talked, not yelled, unpacking the rot. "I felt invisible," I admitted. "The mom, the home base while you soared." She nodded, Luna dozing against her chest. And I ran to the high, scared it'd slip away. Betrayed myself more than you. Humanism prevailed in the honesty. We enrolled in a local counselor's sessions. A soft-spoken Andalusian woman who brewed chamomile tea and coaxed truths like coaxing olives from branches. Romance, ever resilient, found footing in the rebuild. We instituted us nights. No phones, no sketches, just candlelit dinners on the balcony. Her reading poetry from Lorca while I traced constellations on her palm. Emotions deepened with Luna's growth. Her first words, Mama Bells. Her insistence on two moms, in preschool drawings that Bailey framed proudly. Sophia's arc added layers, her apology email after a tearful call. I see how you fight for this. Teach me. Leading to a summer visit where she and Luna built sandcastles. Bailey and I watching. Hands entwined, tears of quiet triumph. The true climax unfolded in the summer of Luna's 5th year. When fate's hand turned cruel. A gallery contract pulling Bailey stateside for 6 months. A career make or break in the village. Conflict raged anew. Me rooted in Spain's embrace. Luna thriving in bilingual schools. Her hunger for the art world's pulse. The American dream she'd half abandoned. This isn't betrayal, she pleaded during the airport farewell, Luna clinging to my legs. It's growth for us. But as her plane lifted, the sky a vast betrayal, I drove home through Torrance, the villa echoing with absence. Months stretched like taffy. Video calls flickering with static and Sophia's guest spots. Luna asking when Mama Bay back? With heartbreaking frequency. I poured pain into work, designing murals for Marbella's eco-resorts. Themes of fractured horizons mended by light. Drama peaked in a midnight call. Bailey, voice slurred from a launch party, confessing a near-miss flirtation with a colleague. I stopped it, thought of you of Luna. But God, I miss you so much it hurts. Rage warred with relief. I hung up, then called back at dawn. Come home. Now. We're your horizon. She did 2 weeks early, bursting through the door with suitcases and sketches of cityscapes infused with Spanish sea blues. The reconciliation was raw poetry. Tears on the terrace, Luna's squeals bridging the gap. Our bodies reconnecting in whispers and sighs under the stars. No more temporaries, she vowed, and I echoed. Only us. In the years since, our story settles into humanistic harmony, not without tremors, but with the wisdom of weathered stone. Luna, at 10, navigates her dual heritage with flair. Flamenco lessons twinned with hip-hop dance. Sophia, her idol cum aunt, visiting with tales from art school. Bailey's studio thrives, hybrid shows blending coasts. I run a design collective for expat women, empowering the temporaries who stay. Betrayals? Footnotes in a thicker tome, lessons in love's labor. And on quiet evenings as the sun dips into the med, Bailey beside me. Hand on my knee, Luna's laughter drifting from the garden. I reflect on that rainy hook, the test strip's promise. We swore temporary but became eternal. 2 American souls in Spain's arms, mothers in every sense, proving that drama yields to depth, conflict to connection, romance to the radical act of choosing, every damn day.